February 2024. The world held its breath as Buckingham Palace announced King Charles had been diagnosed with cancer. But what if I told you? This wasn't his first battle with the disease. Hidden in the shadows of royal protocol lies a secret that Charles kept buried for years. A terrifying health scare that could have changed the course of British history. And the reason he concealed it? More shocking than you could ever imagine. To understand this secret, we need to travel back. Long before he became king. Long before Camilla became queen. To a time when Charles was still waiting in the wings. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Prince Charles seemed invincible. He was active, passionate about his environmental causes, and devoted to his sons after Diana's tragic death. But behind closed doors, something was deeply wrong. What happened next would test the very foundation of the monarchy's carefully crafted image. And it started with something most of us would ignore. According to sources close to the palace, Charles first noticed unusual symptoms sometime in the early 2000s. Persistent fatigue, unexplained discomfort, the kind of warning signs that many men his age dismiss. But Charles didn't dismiss them. He knew his family history. His grandfather, King George VI, had died of lung cancer at just 56. The ghost of that loss haunted the royal family. Charles quietly sought medical advice. And what doctors found changed everything. While the exact nature of Charles's earlier health scare has never been officially confirmed, multiple royal insiders have suggested he underwent treatment for a suspicious growth. Some reports point to a skin cancer scare. Others whisper about something more serious. What we do know is this: Charles received treatment. It was successful, and the palace made a calculated decision. But why hide it? Why wouldn't they tell the British people their future king was fighting for his life? The answer reveals the darkest secret of royal duty. To understand the secrecy, you have to understand the unwritten rule that governed the monarchy: never show weakness. The Queen herself had set the standard. Duty above all. Privacy was sacred. And health scares? They were personal battles to be fought behind closed doors. Charles wasn't just protecting himself. He was protecting the institution. At that time, the monarchy was still rebuilding trust after Diana's death. Any sign of vulnerability in the heir to the throne could have sparked a constitutional crisis. But there was something else. Something more personal that drove his silence. William and Harry had already lost their mother. The thought of them losing their father too? Unbearable. Sources close to Charles say he was haunted by the memory of those young boys, walking behind their mother's coffin. He couldn't put them through that fear again. Not yet. Not when there was still hope. So he fought his battle in silence. Treatment was arranged discreetly. Medical appointments were disguised as private meetings. And the British public? They had no idea their future king was fighting for his life. Living with a secret that big takes its toll. Those close to Charles noticed changes. He became more introspective, more determined to make his remaining time matter. His passion for environmental causes intensified. His charitable work expanded. It was as if he was racing against time, desperate to leave a legacy. But secrets have a way of surfacing, and when they do, they explode with devastating force. Fast forward to February 2024. King Charles, now 75, undergoes a routine procedure for an enlarged prostate. But during that procedure, doctors discover something else. Cancer. Again. This time, the palace made a different choice. They announced it publicly. The king had cancer, and he would be stepping back from public duties to undergo treatment. The world responded with an outpouring of love and support. But for those who knew the full story, this announcement carried extra weight. So why announce it this time? Why break decades of royal protocol? The answer is both simple and profound. Charles had learned from his past. He'd seen how secrecy could isolate, how silence could breed fear. More importantly, he wanted to change the conversation around cancer. By being open about his diagnosis, he was giving permission for millions of others to speak about theirs. The king who once hid his battle was now using his platform to fight stigma. It was redemption. It was courage. It was leadership. The revelation of Charles's 2024 diagnosis sparked something unexpected. Suddenly, people began asking questions. Had there been earlier warning signs? Had the king faced this before? Royal biographers and insiders started connecting the dots. Whispers of the earlier health scare began to surface in the media. The secret Charles had kept for so long was finally beginning to unravel. But rather than anger at the deception, the public responded with compassion. They understood why he'd stayed silent. and they admired his bravery now. Here's what makes this story so powerful. Charles's decision to hide his earlier scare wasn't about deception. It was about survival. Not just physical survival, but the survival of hope. He protected his sons from fear. He protected the monarchy from instability. He protected himself from the weight of public scrutiny while he fought the most private battle of his life. And now, as king, he's chosen transparency over secrecy. It's a fundamental shift in how the royals approach health and vulnerability. But this story isn't over. Because what Charles is teaching us now might be his greatest legacy of all. Since Charles's announcement, cancer charities have reported record numbers of people seeking early screenings. Men especially, who historically avoid doctors, are finally getting checked. One king's diagnosis has potentially saved thousands of lives. That's the power of vulnerability. That's the power of truth. As of today, King Charles continues his treatment while gradually returning to public duties. He's chosen to fight this battle in the light, not in the shadows. The man who waited 70 years to become king. The man who survived loss, scandal, and secret health battles. The man who finally learned that showing weakness is the ultimate strength. Charles kept his earlier cancer scare secret to protect those he loved. But now, by sharing his current battle, he's protecting millions he'll never meet. But there's one more secret about Charles's health that even his closest advisors won't discuss. A medical decision made in the shadows that could change everything we think we know about the royal family's future.